Was last night a precursor to the new youth movement? Was it the most evil thing known to man? Should we all be afraid of our lives? Should we all be clapping? Was this a unifying moment? What was this? Let's try to cut through the BS and let's get to the truth. This is the Demagogic Show.
Welcome to the revolution.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Demagogic Show. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with me. If you could share this on all social media platforms, it would mean so much to me. It means a lot to me when you do so. Last night, we had a live stream like we normally do. I go live, if you're new to this channel, I go live on YouTube and Rumble at 7:35 p.m. almost every single night of the week. And I hope you come hang out with us because it's the news with some joking and laughing in between. We try to laugh because if you're not laughing, you're crying at this point. I'm seeing a lot of commentators losing their minds about this speech. Some have made it to be like hell on earth, and then some have made it to be the most unifying, greatest offensive known to mankind. Last night I was a little weird. There was a couple of things about last night that really stood out to me. One was Joe Biden walking out with the red lighting in the background, looking like straight out of something out of the Temple of Doom. And it was a little weird. And I think it was almost like a weird dystopian vision as well, where you had the front row. One of my chatters pointed out, the front row was just people clapping, yelling, and being excited about this speech the whole time. And then the second row, people were just sitting there. And so it was almost like he had a clapping section in the front row, which was very weird. It makes you feel how genuine, politicians really are. I'm sure. And again, this is all opinions. It's not fact-based, so just relax, lawyers. You just felt like somebody put out a notice and said, hey, let's all get in the front row and have a little clapping section to really encourage him in this moment. And in the same light, you had protesters in the back that you could see. In some instances, you could see some of the lights, but the sirens were going off, and I couldn't tell if it was sirens from police cars at first or if it was sirens from bullhorns. And I assume it's sirens from bullhorns because it was going the entire time. But then you also heard like FJ, Joe Biden, and Let's Go Brandon constantly being chanted. And you could tell there was a couple moments where Biden was getting really upset by it. And because he's an arrogant asshole. The people that tell you that he's like a down-to-earth good guy, they haven't watched Biden. They live in a bubble. If we're going to be fair, he's not a nice human being. He says egregious things. He says things that are incredibly over the top, could be interpreted as racist. A lot of things out of his mouth are disgusting. I mean, even his old campaigning when he was running for smaller offices were insane. So let's step back a little bit and take a breath. And he is happily getting his family rich. So to act like he is this stand-up moral human being is a lie. But of course they push that agenda because as long as they're in power, it doesn't matter in their eyes. But you could see that he was starting to get really angry by the protesters, which I thought was hilarious. And he held back, luckily, from what it felt like a couple of times he wanted to actually go in on them. As he called them, he called them saying that they didn't have an ounce of well manners and they're acting outrageous, like all kinds of names. But you could tell it was really maddening because I think he believes he's doing a good job. I think his handlers have told him he's doing a good job. Despite the 40% approval rating, he believes he's unifying America. He's coming for the soul of America. And so you have paid actors basically in the front row clapping and cheering. And then the second row of people just sitting there. And then behind the rows, you have the average American person And this is Philadelphia. This isn't like, some deep southern or backcountry woods place. You had the American voice reigning over his microphone, over the noise suppressor that's in microphones. Like I put a noise suppressor sometimes on my microphone when there's loud stuff going on around me. And so the fact that it overcame all that to still get in the microphone shows you how loud it was. I think people aren't catching that. So he was having to battle with the actual voice of the American person while he was yelling about these people being basically evil human beings. And I think this is one of the top clips from last night that we can listen to and then talk about afterwards. But here's Joe Biden, what I thought was like one of the most outrageous comments. Here's Joe.
And here, in my view, is what is true. MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people. They refuse to accept the results of a free election. And they're working right now, as I speak, in state after state, to give power to decide elections in America to partisans and cronies, empowering election deniers to undermine democracy itself. MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love. They promote authoritarian leaders and they fan the flames of political violence that are a threat to our personal rights, to the pursuit of justice, to the rule of law, to the very soul of this country.
Upon hearing that, it perfectly illustrates that Joe Biden is essentially painting these MAGA Republicans as basically a terrorist organization, something to go after, something to put in the light as in the darkness of evil, is that they need to be stomped out with no matter what. He is going on the offensive because he can't run on his accomplishments because they're trash, even though the corporate media likes to pretend like he's doing a freaking fantastic job, which is, if you ask the average everyday American who isn't rich or in some kind of psychosis where they have no idea what's going on and they're just completely oblivious, they know he's not doing great things. We are not better off. The world foreign policy is worse off than it's ever been. There are so many things that are ramping up. We have food crises going on around the world, energy crisis going on, like California shutting down for the day, places in Colorado not allowing to change their thermostat because of an energy crisis. Things aren't looking up. So what does Biden have? He is going to paint a picture that these MAGA Republicans are actually Nazis, are actually part of the Nazi youth. They are the problem. We need to get rid of them. There is an army rising up, and we need to stomp them out. Biden reiterated his comments saying that he is happy to work with these conservative Republicans, not MAGA Republicans. And somebody wise always once said to me is that conservatism is progressivism just with speed bumps. It's like, hey, how do we stop the Democrats for a day? How do we stop them from taking over for the minute? And that's what it seems to be, because what I've grown up is that 90% of podcasts out there is what the left is doing to the right. And then there's never anything of what the right can do on the offensive. And the minute they become on the offensive, everyone loses their minds. And so what you're seeing is this new right that is ready to engage at the same level the left is engaging in. And they are treating they have been treated like abuse victims, and now the abuser is feeling the weight of the abused, and getting angry at the fact that the abused is fighting back because they're tired of being called racist, homophobic, terrorist, non-American. I mean, Nazis, fascists, all these stupid terminologies that the words are completely meaningless, it seems like, in today's world. And of course, that's what they're trying to do, because if nothing means everything, then everything means nothing. And confusion will lead to you to look for some kind of solid foundation in your life in which to have authority over you. Like, well, if I don't know the definitions of words anymore, who do I look to for truth? Oh, you look to the government, is their answer. But last night, honestly, was just another indication of how insane this midterms is going to be, this midterm cycle and elections in the future. I don't see this ramping down. This isn't a unifying speech. In fact, you're seeing people like on MSNBC and stuff like that praising how great that speech was, how he's finally going on the offensive. I mean, he was slamming his fist on the thing. I thought I was watching Dwight from The Office for a few moments. We will not acquiesce the blood. It's just like insane. But it was a grim moment. It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't unifying. It wasn't, I don't think, was a great political move. But they are so scared of this potential red wave that they are going and pulling out any stops they possibly can. They're throwing out words like fascism, throwing out words like Nazis, because racist doesn't work anymore. Homophobic doesn't work anymore. So they're on to their new word. They're like children. What's the new word of the day? What? Fascism in their eyes is like whatever politician pushes something that they disagree with is automatically fascism. They have no idea what the frick that word even means. They don't study history. They don't care. They just throw it out for emotional value, so that that the average person, which they're good at doing, that the average person that doesn't watch the news latches on and goes, yeah, maybe they are kind of fascist. Maybe they are kind of like the Nazis. There's a lot of white guys in that group. But where do we go from here? I don't know. Is it the most grim speech ever? Is it anything that I didn't already think that this administration thinks of the entire MAGA crowd? I'm not sure. Did this work on the average American voter? I don't think so. I think the average American voter is watching this, and they're watching a grandpa slowly lose his mind and clutch at straws, is realizing that no one likes them, and he's trying to do whatever it takes in order to stay in power. It's another reminder that politicians will say and do whatever they can in order to stay in power. They will tickle your fancy, and they will make you feel good on the inside, and then the minute they get in the office, they do nothing. Or, like this, they will ramp up your emotions, get you all ready to fight, and then you vote for them, and then they continue to just act like the speech never happened. I'm sure they'll act like maybe at some point they might walk the Nazi comments back if they find out that voters don't actually believe that crap. I'm not sure. But I don't think this was a good look, and I don't like the idea of a president pointing out a single group of people and essentially calling them terrorists. But that's what our government does. They just pick somebody, and then once you deem somebody as a domestic terrorist, once you deem somebody as other than, you can do whatever you want. Their rights go away. The American public doesn't care. The corporate media won't do their job. Journalism will never happen because they're too scared to actually dip their toes into real journalism. But again, because you are following me, which I appreciate, you're probably on the same level as me. You're probably saw that speech last night of, yeah, this makes sense. Biden is kind of an evil prick. He is an evil prick. and he will say and do whatever it takes in order to get your vote. And so he's leaning into this new everyone on the right is a Nazi thing, and he's trying to see if this is working. I don't think... Does he actually believe this? I'm not totally sure. I just think that, like, he's a psychotic, evil prick, and he will say whatever he can. But do I think this is dangerous to the average voter? Yes. I think it's dangerous to people who have a mental disorder that will hear this stuff and go, yeah, maybe they are Nazis on the right, and we need to get rid of them. That stuff scares the shit out of me, and it should scare the shit out of every one of you. Any kind of language like this that puts another person in a box and sets them as other. I mean, we saw it with unvaccinated people for a long time. We saw it with anybody. You vote for Trump, you're on that. If you protest masks and stuff, like, they're so quick to put people as the other. That kind of shit should scare you, because it's racist. It's full of bigotry. It's exactly what they call you, say you're doing, is what they're doing. So, where do we go from here? I don't know. But I hope you're here for the ride. Please subscribe and share this with all your friends and family. Let them know about the Derek O'Shea Show. I try to do my best to not be incredibly hyperbolic, incredibly over-emotional, I don't want to... I've seen some of the right podcasts I listen to. They're just losing their minds at the moment. And you got to remember that these politicians are manipulative, pathological liars, and they are, in a sense, bipolar, where they'll completely change the tune, flip-flop. I mean, Biden could tomorrow come out and say, I never said anything like that. I just meant like Donald Trump. Like, he could completely change his rhetoric, like, on the dime. And people forget that politicians will, especially politicians like a Biden, who's been in power for a long time, they will just say whatever in order to stay in power. And he is trying this new everyone on the right is a Nazi thing out. And I think it's evil, and I think it's stupid, and it's not moral, and it's not a good look. But it just shows you again, too, that people on the left, they're not the moral standard that they claim to be for. I know they pretended while Donald Trump was in office, like, we need to have a moral, how can my kids need to look up to the president? And you're just like, okay, nobody's kids is looking up to Biden. If they are, it's because they're reading a fairy tale. I hope you have a great day. Love you guys. If you want to support me, go to buymeacoffee.com/Derek O'Shea Show. It means a lot to me that those of you do, and I see those messages you guys give me that support me on my show. Honestly, I'm dumbfounded and so thankful for every single one of you. I do put a lot of time into this, so if you enjoy the time I put into this, it means a lot to me when you give. It's like your way of saying, great job, good job, old boy. And this is the only way we'll fight corporate media, is through content creators. So have a great day. Love you guys. Bye.